Okay. Okay, here it is. This message is for Kurt1234. I'm going to speak as clearly as I can. If my diction is too black for you, or it's not articulate enough for you or anybody else, well, that's just the way I am. You're just going to have to accept that. Diction, my friends, does not measure intelligence. That is not a measure of intelligence. That measures physical skills. So, enunciation is a physical skill. Yes, it is. It is not a mental skill. It is a physical skill. So, that has no bearing on what I'm saying. But I want you to understand what I'm saying. So, the point is, in regards to affirmative action and reverse racism, it is not the general trend. What I'm saying is that, yes, there may be affirmative action where blacks, significantly unqualified blacks, get racial preference. But that's not the general trend in employment. And it's not even the general trend in colleges. The reason is that whites are a majority. Okay, there's 10% blacks in colleges. Possibly. Sometimes 5%. Okay, at the very worst, only 5% of whites could experience that discrimination. That's assuming that every single black, or 90% of blacks, are severely unqualified for college. What I'm getting at is that Kurt can say affirmative action, let's just even take colleges. Kurt can say affirmative action exists, reverse discrimination against whites exists in colleges, but he cannot say how great an impact it is toward whites. The only thing that they can say is that some white person's getting getting preferred over some black person is getting preferred over a white person in college. That's all they can say. They can't say every single white has been a victim of reverse discrimination. No, you can't, because it's statistically impossible. I mean, even in these fields where affirmative action is very aggressive. I mean, let's say for example, contractors. If the EOC is being very aggressive in taking unqualified blacks, so-called unqualified blacks, because they have severely lower test scores over whites, and that's like and they only get 2% of blacks in that occupation pool as employees. Well, you can only say that 2% of whites got discriminated against. I mean, that is not evidence that says affirmative action is a general trend in employment. And even at colleges, most colleges don't have 10% of blacks. Maybe they do, but even if they have 10% of blacks, that is the highest number of whites you can say have been discriminated against. And you can only say in general in college. Let's say that that's the highest statistic. That's 10% of whites. I haven't seen any numbers, so I don't know. And Kurt, you have not provided any numbers. You just say that, yeah, there's quotas in the fire department, there's quotas in the police department, there's quotas here, there's quotas here. I mean, there's like 5 professions. Okay, if a black is taken over a white, and these test scores are a very strong indicator of aptitude, then that white goes to court. Then that white person goes to court. But to make it look like this is a national issue. I don't think so. So that's all I got to say about that. Bye.